Welcome to Collage Site eLearning. This video will cover everything you need to know about tools, preferences, and exporting workflows while using Collage Site. We're starting here towards the end of a workflow just to highlight these tools and export functions, but if you need help getting back up to this point, check out the other videos on our channel. To begin, I have the default information tool selected, which lets me select or deselect layers in my project. All of the tools that I'll cover in this video are located in this menu towards the bottom of the screen by tapping the wrench icon. I'm going to start by showing how we can visually hide our targets and stations throughout our project so that we're only looking at the point cloud data. First, with the information tool active, open the menu by pressing the arrow on the right side of the screen and ensure that you're in the Layers tab. To hide targets, you simply need to find the targets entry in the layer list and uncheck that box. Now to get rid of these stations in the viewer. First, notice that I can select these stations in multiple ways, either by simply tapping the station name in the layer menu list or by tapping the station in the 3D viewer. With a station selected, navigate to the Tools and Properties tab and then scroll down to the Style section. Adjusting the opacity slider to 0 in this section allows me to hide the stations in the viewer one by one, just like this. I could also hide individual scans in a similar way. I would just need to make sure that I had the correct LiDAR layer selected and then simply uncheck this box here. With the LiDAR layer selected, I can also do things like changing the coloring scheme of the scan data. Here, I change a couple of scans to reflect their RGB values from my project. You can also adjust things like point cloud density and many other things through this menu. Next up, let's cover the measurement tool, which lets me measure distance and area in my project. With the tool selected, head to the Tools and Properties tab in the menu, which allows you to switch back and forth between distance and area mode, and also gives you a few tips on how to use this tool. To start a measurement, tap once in the 3D viewer and then tap again to define the second point for the measurement. Continue tapping to get additional measurements, and to complete that, simply double tap on the final spot. The tool functions the same way for both distance and area. Next, let's cover the Buffer and Section tool, which lets you slice and isolate point data in the viewer in a variety of ways. With the tool selected, navigate to the Tools and Properties tab in the menu, and you'll notice that you're presented with multiple options regarding how you'd like to isolate your data. Point Buffer, which is what I'm using here, lets you select any point in your project and isolate the data in a circular area. With Point Buffer active, tap on the area of your point cloud data that you'd like to isolate. Now that the buffer is set, I can use the Only Buffer checkbox here to isolate just this area that I'm interested in. I can also use the Range slider here to adjust how much of the area around my selected point I'd like to see. If I want to create a different isolation area, I could use the Clear Buffer button with the trash can icon to start fresh. Let's take a look at the box buffer now. With this option selected, you'll notice that I now have a 3D rectangle around my point cloud data in the viewer. The box buffer allows me to grab and drag each side of the shape and manipulate which areas of the point cloud data I'd like to isolate in the viewer, just like I'm doing here. Again, if I only want to view the data inside of my section box, I need to make sure I have the Only Buffer box checked. The other options that I have for isolating my data all function very similarly to those tools, so I won't go through each one in this video. The next tool we can cover is the Annotate tool, which allows you to add notes to any spot in your project. These notes can be things like text, images, and URLs. First, select the tool and choose to create a new annotation layer in your project. Then, you need to select the annotation category, give it a name, geometry type, and color, and finally, choose to create the layer like you see me doing here. From there, simply tap on the point you'd like to annotate in the 3D viewer, fill out some description information, and you now have an annotation in your project. Now, if I select the information tool again and tap on the annotation that I just created, you can see all the information about the note that I just created in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. It's also worth noting that I can hide the annotation layer at any time by navigating back to the Layers tab in the menu and unchecking the box next to the desired layer. Very similar to how you can hide scans like we talked about earlier. Most everything created or imported into Collage Site will be shown in the Layers tab and can be manipulated from there. The next tool down is the Layer Editor tool, which allows you to edit layer information throughout your project. With the currently selected annotation layer, I have options to add a new annotation, edit existing annotations, or deleting them altogether. Notice when I have this tool selected and I choose different kinds of layers like stations versus scans versus annotations, I have a few different options available to edit. These are mainly user preference related, so we won't go through anything else with this tool in this video. Next up is the Viewpoint Manager tool, which allows you to save any particular viewpoint so that you can return to it at any time. With the tool selected, head to the Tools and Properties tab in the menu. Once you have the 3D view oriented to a viewpoint you'd like saved, you just need to tap this Save Current View button. Name your view, press OK, and that's all there is to it. With a viewpoint saved, I can continue working on my project, and then if I want to return to that view at any time, I just need to hover over that entry in the list and press Zoom to View. I also have options here to edit or delete saved views. Now for the last tool on the list, the Screenshot tool. This is a simple tool that allows you to take a screenshot anywhere in your 3D viewer to set the image thumbnail of a layer or project. Once again, with this tool selected, head to the Tools and Properties tab in the menu. Notice that this tool does a great job of explaining how to use it right in the menu here. All I need to do is tap the Capture Screen button here, and if I'm happy with the preview image, I can press the Upload button. So now, if I head back to my project selection page, I can see the screenshot that I just took is now the thumbnail of the project I was just working in. Now that we've covered most of our tools and preferences, let's quickly talk about export and publishing capabilities in Collage Site. Currently, Collage Site can export scans, the entire project, or publish the project to Collage Web. The export options are located here in the Workflow tab of our menu. Once I tap Export, I have the option to either export out the entirety of my project as a zip file or exporting out just scan data for my project. When exporting out an entire project, you're given the option here to select the contents of your project you'd like exported. Everything is selected by default. This option will export the entire project to a zip file for transferring between computers running Collage Site or to bring into Collage Office for a more detailed analysis. This format will only be readable by TopCon software. Simply choose where you'd like to export your project and give the zip file a name, and you're done. The Export Scans button will export scan data to supported formats with the current registration and localization information written into the scan files for use in downstream applications. If the format supports it, the scans can be grouped into a single file or kept separate. Notice I can also select which scans I'd like to export. Again, all are selected by default. All you need to do as a user is pick a save location and name the file, and you're done. The last thing we'll cover is the Publish to Collage Web function. From the Workflow tab, you just need to tap the Publish to Collage Web button. This will prompt you to log in with your Collage Web credentials and will then give you a summary of the data that you'll be pushing to Collage Web. This function uploads the project to the cloud in Collage Web for online sharing and viewing on browsers and mobile devices. This will require a Collage Web subscription, but is a really powerful function in terms of collaboration and time savings. And now here in my browser, I can pull up the project that I just published and view all of the work that has been done. I also have all the native Collage Site tools that we discussed in this video readily available for my use in the browser. And with that, you now understand how to use tools and export functions in Collage Site. Best of luck in the field, and please use these links to contact us with any questions.